I'm ready to splash and burn.
Jason and I were really good buddies from college, and
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Outside of the Box. And today I am joined by Evan from Team Shreddit, known also Pain Trained, from the Battlebots area, well known in the NHRL, just a man of many talents.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I know we've been trying to do this for a while, so I'm super excited. Glad we got to chat for a bit.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Just we'll get right into it. I'm kind of curious, because you obviously are very well known on the circuit with the smaller bots, just, fantastic job with those. And when you decided to come into BattleBots and create Pain Train in the first place, what all kind of went into like the ideas of design and like the vibe that you wanted to have for the team?
Ooh, that's a good one. So when we first got started, I would say it was about a month out from BattleBots, and I was actually on Team SME, Joe Fabiani, me and him like this. So he asked me if I wanted to be with him for BattleBots. I was like, hell yeah. And then sometime right before, a month before tournament, I'm like, hey, respectfully, would you mind if I try to get my own application in? He's like, go for it, I'll help you. And he actually helped me design Pain Train V1. He dealt with all my terrible drawings because I can't draw for my life. And, he was able to take some ideas and incorporate all the things that, made it be. And sadly, we couldn't get, a weapon made in China because of the time frame. And I like Chinese manufacturers. They do really good work, but the shipping would have been, it would have missed that window. So we came up with this hybrid weapon that was somewhere between an egg beater and a drum. And I was actually happy. It didn't have the bite we wanted, but it was still like, I'm still proud of it to even produce something to that level. And, you need that kind of data in combat to like really like know what works, what doesn't, and even like the top plate and the bite, there wasn't enough of it, but that whole experience was so worth it. And it really, it fills my heart really to be able to go from watching it on TV or on my phone and being amazed and then just stepping into that environment in less than a year too, because I only started competing September 2019. And then to get to that point in that short amount of time, I'm like, hell yeah, I love this environment. And the whole team was like, about attitude, Pain Train, New York City, try to incorporate all that stuff, graffiti. And then right before we left, Anthony D'Ambrosio, he hit me up. He wanted to join in. I'm like, yeah, sure, man. And he helped me out with like a lot of the graphics and the clothing, and he did an amazing job. I mean, it really showed that it takes teamwork to make the dream work. There's no one-man army in the sport.
Yeah, that is very true. And I know that like we had talked a little bit about this outside of the podcast, but I mean, your team has a very like, aggressive type of vibe. That's the way that you drive your robots. And that's very reminiscent of Minotaur, of course, for me, because I'm a massive Minotaur fan. So I wanted to make sure that I brought that up because I mean I love that vibe.
Right on. Same here. Like watching Minotaur, I'll never forget. I was watching BattleBots. I was like, "Oh wow, I haven't watched this since I was a kid." Like most people, they're like shocked that it came back. And I saw those two robots that stuck out to me. It was Minotaur and Bombshell. But Minotaur, to me, I was like, "Wow, that robot makes sense." Like if I'm gonna do something, I kind of want to do something like that, but just switch it up. Do my own thing there. And they really, for me, they set the bar, and I'm like, "All right, how do I raise that bar?" I mean, results may vary, obviously, but it was they definitely inspired me to really want to like dig deep into the sport. And then it was one of those situations, we have like this curse, we always have like less than a month. So it was one of those things. I reached out to a beetle, it was like a beetleway forum, and Alex Kreese and Valkyrie hit me back up because I was like, is there any like robot events? Like I really didn't know much besides BattleBots. And then he told me about Norwalk Havoc, and it's going to go down in September. And I was like, oh wow, one of the guys from Valkyrie got back to me. Cool. So big shout out to Alex Kreese. If it wasn't for you, bro, I probably wouldn't be as far as I am. And yeah, so we had a month to build. We built the first version of Shreddit Bro, competed at Norwalk. The first fight we won against a robot from his name is BDE, and the second fight was against Joe Fabiani. And then that's when I learned he used to have tape that said "SME" across his robot. Uh, And when the tape got caught up in my weapon, I kept trying to fire up the weapon to shake it loose, but I didn't know anything about electronics. So in the next fight, that's what actually caused me to have a fire. I didn't test before the next fight, and I keep trying to fire up the ESC. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And sure enough, smoke, flame, and it goes bad. And funny enough, that third fight was against Alex Kreese. He's in there, he's biting me on one side, and I'm like frustrated, like, why won't this work? And then my ESC just goes up in flames, and I think I still have that top plate that just smells disgusting from the from the fire. But that and then we took a loss. We went 1-2, and then the following tournament is when we went. I think it was like 4 or 5-0 at Boston Max Destruction. And then since then we've been constantly getting better, climbing the ladder, seeing what works, what doesn't, and it's been one of the most beautiful experiences. I really love it. It's one of those things where like you need to do it to find out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I definitely want to talk about the matches from last season. Just, obviously the first one, which was in the very first episode of the whole season, was versus Deep Six. They came in with a lighter blade than they had previously had, but when you're talking about a lighter blade from Deep Six, I mean, obviously it's still massive.
That's a big boy.
It really is. So I thought that it was great that like you had some real like good lines in all of these episodes. I swear you could take over like writing the intros for Farouk, because before the episode, you were talking about the fight and you said Deep Six is going 6 deep. And I was like, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. It comes to me on the spot. Because you always have those pre-fight interviews where like it's very boring. They're like, oh, he's a really good driver. I gotta drive better. But like no one wants to hear that. That's not entertaining. So I like try to like spice it up a bit. Like I try not to like talk crap, but I like to like make these funny puns. Like Deep Six, the whole Deep Six, you going 6 deep. That came to me. The Yeti fight. I had a straight face going into it. I knew I was gonna like be goofy, but then Craig Danby decides to go behind the camera crew. I love Craig Danby so much, and he does something that just breaks my character. I even tell the crew like, "Hold on, I need a second." And then after that, I have no bearing, and I'm just like, it's joke after joke after joke. I'm like Yeti spaghetti, all this, all this nonsense. But that's just like for TV. Everyone knows before and after every fight, I'm like your biggest fan. It's like I'm curious to know what you got going on, without like overstepping. I don't want to step into your pit if I'm not invited. But I'll just let you know it's all love. And then even afterwards, it's the same thing, all love. But the TV aspect, I gotta admit, that just comes to me, and hopefully one day I could get on BattleBots besides the fighting side. Even though the fighting is my thing, I love to fight. But I agree, I should write some stuff. Some of the stuff Brooke says is hilarious, though.
Agreed. He's definitely had some winners in this champions tournament. I will say that. So yeah, the Deep Six fight. The interesting thing for me that I really wanted to ask you is if you were having any kind of control issues, because at least from like the way that it looked on TV, because obviously that's the way that I'm watching it. It looked like you kept probably unintentionally pointing your wheels at their weapon, and I'm just watching it the whole time and I'm like, no, that is the last thing that you want to do.
Yeah, so before the fight, funny enough, I talked to Daniel Freitas, and he was like, go after the forks. And in the middle of the fight, the first thing I do is hit the weapon, like I always do. I like weapon to weapon contact. That's what everyone comes for. And in the fight, he's like, go after the forks, and I could see he has no balance. So I'm trying to like throw his balance off, and I'm like, you know what, let me replay his words, go for the forks. And I keep exposing my wheels, which was a terrible idea. And on top of terrible ideas, which we found out the hard way, attaching your wheel guards to your top plate is definitely the worst case scenario you can do. It should totally be separate, because if not, you take the wheel guard off and bye top plate. So I learned that the hard way. But I should just stay like head on, because I realized he can't really keep up with me if I drive better. But we had silicone wheels for that fight, for the first 2 fights. Everything was back ordered. We had less than a month to build once again, and couldn't really get the desired materials we wanted. So with the silicone, they're just getting eaten away, and it was very unforgiving. But I still like that fight. There's like some good data for me. to know what worked, what didn't. And you would have thought I would have learned to cut the top plate on both robots, because we try to bring one, work on one while one's down, one's up, and I should just cut that piece, that connected piece off, which in the Yeti fight, it shows, after that, lesson learned,
Yeah.
had to make the same mistake twice, but it's okay.
It happens sometimes. I mean, no matter how you look at it, like, even though Deep Six, obviously because of the size of their weapon and the way that the robot's designed, they tend to have some gyro issues. That's a thing. So there are some weaknesses there, but their weapon is a big positive for them, and so it's very hard to fight no matter how you look at it.
It's a big boy, and I guess my mistake, even in the beginning of the fight, a lot of people see like I go rushing and then I'm like, oh snap, and I try to do like a quick turn because I expected they were gonna fly out at me, 3, 2, 1, go, and I'm already by their paint, and they're barely leaving because they're having their own own set of issues. And that was definitely like a lesson learned. I should just stay head on instead of trying to anticipate where my opponent's gonna go, because making that J hook, it couldn't have been any worse. I look like a puppy that couldn't turn a corner. So
yeah,
from what I'm told.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, for to jump to just a different example, I think that Ribot put together a pretty good template of how to fight Deep Six in that match that they had with them. I mean, in some ways it could have certainly turned a different way if they had just hit them wrong, but that's, I guess that was a good way to do it.
Yeah, and I didn't realize until like afterwards when we reanalyzed, because I get like tunnel vision. I definitely could have had them on the outspin. My weapon was heavy enough and going fast enough that I would have stayed weapon to weapon. I could have kept them going back, and I changed up the formula, and that's when I learned to be myself. Don't take any, don't like have any outside sources tell me how to fight, because I'm here for a reason, and it's because of how I fight, which is weapon to weapon. And that's why from there on out, that's what I do. I don't know. I love that stuff. That's my bread and butter right there. Just going weapon to weapon, whether my weapon's working or not, I'm still gonna go at you like it's still going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's talk about that Yeti match. I honestly, like, I think that you should feel good because, when Greg was talking about in the interview beforehand, he had mentioned that he didn't feel like he could win it head to head against you. So I think that's a big compliment, there. I think that you did a really good job staying squared up with them for a while, and it was actually really even. And when it turned is when they got to your side, and then that was kind of it.
Yeah, it was one of those I'm learning the hard way again, and having those same wheels, the silicone, it really doesn't hold up in a combat scenario. So I felt like had I had a better wheels, it would have went a little differently for us. But I really like that fight. It showed me a lot. I'm like, all right, that's how I perform under these conditions. Okay, bet. Like, I'm gonna keep the momentum going. And sure enough, I learned so many lessons, and I really enjoyed that fight. That's a fight that if I could go back in time, I'd be like, no way that happened. Like, you did not fight Yeti, because I actually really like Yeti, believe it or not, and I think it's an amazing robot. It's beautiful, and it's one of those that, like, to me, like, set the bar, and I always want to like keep that bar raising, and hopefully one day I do get to raise the bar a little higher. So.
Well, and I loved that match too, just because, like, Greg is also known for being a very aggressive driver. And so, like, to see two drivers that have that same mentality going at each other, it was just a great match.
Oh yeah, I wish they would have played the rest of the audio. A lot of people were giving him crap online because they felt like he cheap shot me, and I was like, no, if you could hear the audio, I'm telling them it's not over yet, and I'm like against the wall, like things are bad, but I screamed to him, it's not over yet, like, keep going. And then he gives me another hit, and then I'm like, oh yeah, now it's over. When I see like the motor fly out, I'm like, yeah, you got me, but it's not over until it's over. And I'm glad that he kept going. And even after the fight, they came and talked to us. They're like, yo, everything's good. And I'm like, yeah, that's what we're here for. Good work. I loved it. So, yeah, that fight to me, it meant a lot. I loved it. Especially in the beginning, we were doing so good. That's how most of the fights go, but it's always good in the beginning.
It's a good takeaway though, I mean, like you have to take something positive from it, and it definitely was, up to a point, and I think that's how you learn, really.
Absolutely. I'm the
Yeah.
happiest after a fight. Like, I don't know if they show every time after a fight. I mean, win or lose, which the seasons lose. I'm happier than them because I'm like, that's what I'm here for. Like, forget the politics, forget the theatrics. I'm here to fight, and win or lose, I love the fight. Like, I'll never give that up. Yeah, I even had judged the tournament, and I was dying inside. I'm used to coaching my guys, and or coaching someone if they need help, because I could see, like, the certain maneuvers where you could take the fight. And as I'm a judge, I'm like, oh my God, I can't say anything. Like, I could tell you where. But that's when I learned, I'm for the fight. Like, that's just the bread and butter. That's why I'm here.
That's great. I mean, I think a lot of people feel that way, from different other competitors that I've talked to. But yeah, I mean, I think a great attitude to have. So, you had those two fights in the regular season. Obviously, with only having two fights, I'm sure that you wish things had turned out a little bit differently there. But you did get an opportunity in Champions. Of course, they decided to make this whole Battle of New York thing and have you up against Shatter. Which again, like in the beginning, it was very close. Like you were able to pop them a few times and you removed one of those wedgelets from them. But it's with any robot that has a big weapon of whatever type it is. When you hit them, it tends to mean that you risk getting hit by that weapon as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from everything that I've heard, you definitely had some type of like issue with the motor or the weapon or something along those lines. But other than that, I mean, they did hammer at the top quite a bit. Did you have like how much damage was there actually from the hammer?
On us, zero. Like, nothing. The robot was fine. That's why a lot of people thought, oh, they took down our weapon. So what happened was we were hitting them so hard, which you saw, like we were juggling them. And one of the weapon motors, we didn't really have like a cage surrounding it. It was only mounted to one face. And we had two of them. And the weapons, like, it was at its limit. It was heavy as hell. So one of them, on one of the big hits, backed out of its mount, and one side couldn't get it spinning. So you have both motors trying, but one's like sort of like preventing it. So that's what happened in the fight. And then like I could have kept like trying to like run away, but I'm not a fan of like running from the enemy. Like, I'm gonna keep going head on and hope that I can get a spin up, which I do. I try to like get a little bit of distance, see if I get a spin up going, and I see that I'm having issues, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? Because you can't, you gotta wait till after the fight to open up the robot, see what happened. So I keep re-engaging and I let them rack up points. To me, it's like, I don't care. Like, I'll see how good I do in a pushing match. And that's why it kind of hurts only having the past 2 years having two regular season fights, because you need those fights to collect the data. So had I would have learned that I can only work off of one weapon motor, that's something I could have like, prevented or built something, at the event where it's like, all right, now I have the cage that we're now going to run. Because without that happening, you can't prepare for that. So that definitely hurt to know that I lost. Like, Pain Train was its biggest enemy in that fight, because they could hammer away all day and it didn't warp the top plate, it didn't put a hole in it. Like, there was nothing that happened, and so I was like, all right, awesome. So we know the top plate works, against this hammer that, I've seen them in other weight classes or battle bots that, depending on the fight, that hammer can do something. But against the AR 500 we got, so so that was that I really liked that fight for that reason. I got to learn what it could take, and that's why I'm never changing the top plate. It's staying.
I mean, if it could withstand that, then I would say, yeah, that seems like a pretty good thing to keep. I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, because I was so disappointed, because I wanted that rematch with Deep Six so much, and I'm sure that you did as well.
Oh yeah, you have no idea, because I don't, like, I'm not a sort of loser or anything. As I said, I'm like, I'm the happiest dude to be there. But it would have been nice to get that rematch with them, and maybe in the future, whether it's Battlebots or another event, we get to run it back. But I mean, it's all right. I mean, I'm not, can't lose sleep over it. It was still fun, and I actually got to see, what went on fire. The cool part is, a lot of people don't know the when he knocked the top plate off, it happened so fast that like it's still like in the blink of an eye, and then next thing I know, the robots like flipped and sent over, and how the fire actually happened was half of our battery pack, and I'm glad it's only half. Uh, it dropped out of the robot, and the second it smacked the floor is when half the battery pack went on fire. Which I'm extremely grateful that the top plate was off at that point because we would have lost a lot more in that fire. So very happy that the fire happened outside. There was no major damage. Didn't have to replace any wires, just some batteries, which I'm grateful for because a fire can really ruin your day and your whole build. I never, knock on wood, never want to experience a full-on bot fire. Hope I didn't jinx myself, so I'm gonna knock again. That would be a nightmare. That's like worst case scenario.
Yeah, I would say so. It's different than just having one part torn off or something like that. It can really just spread through the entire robot.
Oh yeah, cause oh my god, I could easily break it down. In electronics, like for my robot at least, there's like over $1,000 electronics, over like $500 worth of motors. Oh, easily over 500. And then you have all your wiring, your switches, which are a few hundred, and it's just like those numbers keep adding up, and it's like you don't want to lose that. You kind of want to reuse it for the next fight if you could.
Yeah, that is a definite there. Now I'm curious, especially because you haven't had, that many fights in BattleBots with unfortunately only getting 2 matches like that during the regular season. So, of all the robots out there, who do you really want to fight? Like if you could fight anybody in BattleBots, who would be your top picks of another robot to fight right now?
Ooh, my top pick. That's a good one. I actually want to fight Rusty. I know that's everyone's favorite, and I think that might be why. Yeah, it's like, oh, sorry, if we win, and I mean, we're boys, like we're gonna lose. It is what it is. It's fun, but I definitely love to go against Rusty. I would say maybe Shatter again. You know, who else? I feel like that has to be. Let me put an active spinner in there who I would love to fight. Hmm. No, that's that. If Bombshell came back, I would like to fight Bombshell, only out of like love and respect, really.
Have you because I'm trying to remember. I know not last season, but have you fought Minotaur?
No, not Minotaur. It would be cool if we did fight one day, and it would be all love. It's like it would be like everything would come full circle, but I won't push for it. I'd rather fight them in the top 32 or never. Like, if I'm being honest, they're great people though. I would love to, definitely would love to get into that one day, or even like like this if they do another side tournament, I'd love to do that against them, or whenever it happens. It would be fun. Whether it's Brazil here, win or lose, it's a great time, and to me, it's good data. I would like to know what how it holds up against that.
That's a good segue now, though, to kind of talk about NHRL because I know Riobots definitely brings the pain to NHRL as well. So, talk about your experience there and like how it's different from BattleBots and just like as somebody who didn't even know about it until a couple of months ago and then watched the last live stream, I was just blown away. Like I didn't think that I would enjoy it as much as I did, but it is phenomenal.
Yeah, I love Norwalk, and I love that they came. And like to me, them coming, it meant a lot to me to especially to be able to go against the dudes from Brazil because I feel like they play at my speed. I like fast and intensity, and over there they kind of raise the bar. So it's really cool that they came by and I got to see what they're like in person. And I'm like, oh, I could definitely hang with them. They play like me, and I like that. So funny enough, they did both the AVGS guys, shout out to them, and the RealBots team. They did invite me to their separate tournaments in Brazil. So I'm really looking forward to traveling out there and and getting it with them. Whether it's like I get to fight all of them, one of them, it would be nice. I really like what they bring to the table, and I feel like that's the direction people should go in because you have all different types of competitors. You got people who try to like hide in the corner to spin up, and then you have people Well, I'll say I'll put them in the same category, like us, who are like in your face. And me personally, the second it says go, I'm there. Like I'm not hesitating. I want to be in your paint before you leave it. So that's my goal every time. And I feel like you just gotta like channel all that energy. And I definitely get tunnel vision. Like you'll ask me stuff about the fight, and I'm like, huh? Like, like I don't remember that. Or like, oh, that roof shot you got. I'm like, when? I get super into it, and I've been told, which even the Norwalk staff says, like I walk along the cage like a tiger looking for his food, and it's true. I just go into another zone where my legs are just doing the work. I'm trying to find the best angles, and I kind of wish BattleBots gave you a bigger space, like an L-shaped catwalk, because I would totally eat that up. And I feel like even if they raise the floor a little bit, there's a lot of builders who like hunched over, or you're stuck in this small window. Meanwhile, you have like this big arena. And me personally, I like to move around. So maybe next season you might even see me leave that little booth and just take advantage of the full arena. I'm pretty sure the fans would go nuts too, watching me like, because who does that? I only heard like a few people like leave their spots, but that's something I'm definitely gonna do in the future, especially when you have like there's a few times this season when it's like right up on the glass and it's under you, and you're like, oh, like I gotta see what's going on down there. But I definitely love what Norwalk has become, and I hope one day they actually do heavyweights. It would be cool to have multiple, heavyweight competitions, because BattleBots is once a year, and there's always events going. So hopefully one day there is more heavyweight competitions. We'll see. I don't know.
Yes, they need to. Somebody needs to bring a heavyweight competition to the Midwest. I mean, I'm biased. I live here, and there's really not a whole lot going on, but there needs to be like a big competition. It's halfway between like everyone, because there's a whole lot of West Coast BattleBots folks, and there's a whole lot of East Coast, so it meets right in the middle.
Oh yeah, I actually like traveling out for these events. I feel like it's fun, and especially if there's stuff over there. I like, even if there was like a touring circuit for heavyweights, I'd be like, I volunteer, like take me. Like I would love to just travel and fight robots one day as like an all the time thing. Because even Norwalk's like every other month, BattleBots is once a year, and then you have all these other competitions that are sort of like spread out. Like some are easier to get to than others, sadly. But I actually started marking on the calendar all the potential events, and when people do reach out to me, I do try to make it to their event.
That's
Because
awesome.
like the West Coast, sorry, the Midwest Chicago event that we had. That's when I was judging. That's when I learned I like to fight. I don't like to judge. And even judging, I give credit to judges. A lot of people think judging is an easy job, and I can't believe the people get frustrated with the judges. But after judging, I get it now. Like I get the whole process, because when you break it down to those categories, it's a whole different ball game. And people are like, oh, I don't feel like the judges saw the same fight. It's like, one, they're staring at the arena all day, and so it's like they know what they're doing, and especially if they're like former competitors or competitors. Their judgment's a lot better, I would say. And people just get frustrated that their favorite didn't win, but you really have to take into account of the scoring points. And I feel like that made me like, learning how to judge had me make like a better understanding. And I agree with people now when they say, if you don't want to fight, if you want to win, then don't let it go to the judges, which basically knock them out. Like just do your thing. And if you can't, then hey, don't get mad if it doesn't go your way.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it. I'm going to be having all three of the BattleBots judges on a show later this month, so that should be a very interesting discussion. But I mean, I
Nice.
also I feel that way too, because I mean, the issue is that I think a lot of people aren't thinking, like, you're watching something on TV with all these different camera angles and slow-mos and
Mhm.
things like that that the judges don't have access to. So have they ever made mistakes? Probably, but I mean, they're seeing things from their point of view, and the fans don't have their point of view. So they may see it a little bit differently. But I mean, also just having to go by those points, it's hard to make a decision who gets how many points sometimes. We just had a really close match this last episode between Glitch and Retrograde, probably one of the closest matches that I've ever seen. And I'm sure that that's difficult
Oh
to
yeah.
to make that kind of decision there.
Oh, it's definitely not easy, and that's why I have a new respect for judging, because it's not a simple like, oh, okay, it's like clear cutthroat. You really have to sit there and go through the whole match mentally in your head, like who was actually in control, who was driving. And to me, I don't like myself. If you avoid engagement, you're losing points with me there alone. If like whether your weapon's working or not, if you're running from them, no good on you, because you're showing that like you could drive, but are you driving at them? Like, are you the aggressor? Are you causing damage running away? There's like all those factors that play in. So, big shout out to the judges. They definitely don't get enough credit, and I get where fans get frustrated, but just don't let it go to the judges. Like I like that's just how it is. I've been there. It happens, but it is what it is.
That is very true. You just gotta kind of roll with it. But yeah, so let's kind of talk about too, plans for the future, because I mean you've already announced this so everybody knows, but you're not going to continue with Pain Train. We're going a little bit of a different direction. So let's kind of talk about that.
Yeah, let me see if I have parts line. So I have this beetle weight that everyone knows me by. It's called Shreddit Bro. This is a very old frame that's clearly chewed up. It's seen its day. You can tell I fought a horizontal. Something was burning up over here. I don't even know what. But this is a very old frame. And so that robot, I've been competing with it since September 2019. And it's it was an honorable mention to Hall of Fame amongst nothing but heavyweights, which I was very proud that I got to that point. Um, it's earned a name, three-time Golden Dumpster champion, one-time Boston Mass Destruction. There's probably other stuff, but it's slipping me. And so that robot, we decided to finally scale it up properly. And now that we actually have time, more than a month, we're getting a lot closer to how we wanted it the past few years. Even last year, I wanted to do more to Pain Train, but given the time frame, there's just you're limited by time. Time's your biggest enemy at that point. So this year we're coming with Shreddit Bro. It's all caps with an exclamation mark. I took note from Team Huge how they put the exclamation mark to like show you the difference. And that robot, I'm really looking forward to bringing it. It's really all the things I've always wanted to incorporate in a robot, and I almost want to like give away what the weapon is, but I gotta hold off. It's been killing me to not show it off yet, but it's definitely another hybrid type weapon, and there's parts that you could change on it, and yeah, configurations I would say for that weapon. I don't want to give any away any more than that, but people understand after they hear this and they see it, like, oh, okay. Yeah. So it's one of those, it's not like a one-trick pony, how like Pain Train was like, same setup for everything, like horizontal, vert, overhead, whatever it was, it's like same robot. This time it's actually where we're more catered to, all right, what's the matchup? And it's gonna be so cool. Like I love having a weapon that I could play with the placement. I guess that's the best way I could put it without giving it away too much.
No, that's awesome. I mean, like, when you look at things historically, especially in recent years, robots that have the ability to change the weapon placement and things like that have that versatility typically do well, because they can alter things depending on their opponent. So I think that's very smart.
Thank you. Yeah, like I already have a plan. I guess I could give this away, which kind of gives it away without giving the whole thing. um, so the placement for it, more or less would be, I could, yeah, I'll just come out with it. I could either put my pulleys in the center of the weapon or on the outside. With just it's almost like playing with Legos, just snapping and putting things into places. So if I'm going against a vert, I'm going to put my belt on the outside because I don't want to get sniped in one shot. And if it's a horizontal, I'm definitely going straight in the middle so you can't snipe it from the side, because that happens. I mean, even this frame, for my 3 pound, we keep the pulley by one side or the other. Well, soon we're changing that as well for the beetle weight. I already have that weapon mocked up, but I hate getting my belt sniped. It's probably like the worst feeling because if the belt was still going, you'll be good. So that's one of the key things I'm happy about this year. It's like if someone like cuts my belt, I will sign that belt and give it to you because you've earned it, like straight up. Like I'll even put like my own like shipping address. Like if you ever want a sticker for cutting this belt, here you go. I got you. You know, but that I would say that's something I'm looking forward to. That's not the configuration, the weapon we have is something that hasn't been done yet. So I'm really happy to start putting that in every single weight class because we're gonna have a 3 pound robot, the heavyweight, and I do have a 12 and 30 that will be making its debut at Norwalk. I'm not saying when, could be November, could be January, but it's gonna be like the same formula going forward.
That is very cool. I am excited to see it. You know, because now that I know about Norwalk, I am definitely going to be watching those live streams myself when they come out. So
Awesome. Yeah, I love Norwalk. I consider it my home. I don't know what came over me, but anytime there's a microphone and I'm on camera, I like change personalities. And there was like the NHRL sign behind me, and I was like, everyone who sees this, look at this. This is my shipping address. And then at some point, I did grab the microphone. I think right after I lost, and I started singing that song. Start spreading the news. I'm leaving today. So I don't know why I decided let me not start from there. I'm gonna start from somewhere in the middle of a song, and like no one knew I was doing that first. And I was like, "Come on, let me hear you." Like no responses, and then I start doing it again, and then I hear like a little bit of something like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Oh, like maybe if you would have started when everyone knew what you're doing, it'd be a bigger response." Like I said, I get that camera, I'm like, "Whoa!" Whole different guy.
that is terrific. Well, I am super excited to see what happens. I will definitely be following things with Shreddit Bro to see how that goes. But I so appreciate having you on the show. You have one of the most dynamic personalities for me in all of BattleBots. So just thrilled to have you on. And yeah.
Thank you. I was happy to do this finally. I know like scheduling, it's been like, crazy. And I know getting in touch with me is pretty hard as well. Cause like I'll start getting messages and some of it's like spam sometimes. So it just like cues down all the good stuff. And then I'm like, then I have like sort through and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. A lot of people, anybody who knows me, if they're trying to reach to me, Facebook Messenger is the worst way because you get all types of stuff. Or you get people like, oh, hey, can you promote my clothing brand or something? And it's like, or being a brand ambassador. And I'm like, no, I don't know you. But yeah, so I'm actually happy to do the show finally and get to talk to you. And I hope I get to see you out at Norwalk. I know I know you love robots. And if I'm not mistaken, you have family that's into robots as well, correct?
Well, I have my daughter is very into robots. I mean, it's funny because I was like reminiscing on Lisa Winter when she had Tentamushi, and I double checked because I wanted to see, and she was 10 years old the first time that she ever did BattleBots, and my daughter is 6, so she has a little bit of time. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited that this is something that she really loves. I wish I'll have to find it and like post it on my page or something, but I have a picture of her from when she was a literal baby watching BattleBots with like her fist raised in the air. Like this is just it's something that she's very into, and if this is something she wants to do, I absolutely intend to encourage it, and maybe she'll be driving at Norwalk one day.
Oh, I would love to see that. And you as well. You both should bring a robot.
Maybe I'm better. I'm better at design and conceptualization than I am at the building aspect of it. But I will tell you in advance that I guarantee that if she ever builds a robot, obviously she'll probably start with one that's smaller. But if she does, it's probably going to be pink, covered in glitter, and the
Ooh.
deadliest thing that you've ever seen.
All
because
right.
that is her personality. So.
I like that. I like that. I actually, if it wasn't for like the whole like moving stuff around, we actually have on one of the paint trains, we have glitter on the robot. And I personally have stayed away from glitter since then. We call it the robot no-no. I mean, it's cool, but it gets everywhere. Like no matter what you're doing, you're like, how do I still have this on me? But I love when people add it. It's not for me, but I love seeing it because it makes everything pop a lot more, and it's pretty, and I feel like it matches people's personality. But for me, the glitter's a no-go. It's more mess, and I'm not the type of person who's good at painting too. Like anytime I ever paint the room, I also do the floors after that because I have no choice. Like I could do all the prep work in the world. Um, I could lay down all the plastic, I could tape every corner. I gotta do some flooring. Like my living room, I had to put carpet. My room, I put some laminate floors down. I can't paint for my life. That's why I'm happy when I did paint the robots the past few years. I set up outside where I can't I can't ruin everything. I'm
That's
like,
probably smart.
yeah, I honestly, if you want, you can put me and your child side by side, and we have to paint something. I guarantee you, she's gonna come out clean as a whistle, and I'm gonna be covered like I swear I tried. Like I can't paint for my life. It's my least favorite jobs. There's two things in the world I don't like: painting jobs and moving jobs. Don't like it.
I would say that a lot of people share that sentiment.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah.
some people are good at it. Like some people, like I don't like moving jobs because people always like tend to contact you like the day of. But with paint jobs, it's like you have to be really not a gorilla like me. And I'm just a straight animal with everything I do. So even spray paint cans, they just, sometimes they don't work for me.
Yeah, who knows? Sometimes that happens. But yeah, I mean, hopefully we'll get out there. That's certainly the plan. And for everyone that's watching the show, I always like to make sure that I add, especially too, because so I decided to be ambitious and I now have a merch store. So you can get shirts with the show logo on them, that like show your podcast and robot love. Everything that I sell on there will go directly back into combat robotics, so I am not trying to profit from this in any way. Just trying to promote my love of combat robotics. So like, subscribe, follow, all of that good stuff, and we'll see you next time on the show.
Oh yeah, thank you everyone for tuned in, and I'll definitely be sharing that link because robot support and means everything in the sport. A little support goes a long way, all over the board. And thank you for
Absolutely.
everyone watching. If they were team captain, the most electrifying one there is.